Well, good afternoon. Yes, it's 4:44 p.m. my time, and I had intended to do a video this morning with Aristo, but signals got crossed and it isn't going to happen. That's the repeat video, the repeat subject from the video that we did last Thursday, which aired on Friday. It didn't happen today, and I was going to do a video last night with someone else, and that didn't happen. And I have a feeling that there's going to be some other videos that I'm going to be doing as conversations with various people. And there may be days that I'll put up more than one video. I don't know that that's a fact yet, but it could possibly be. Anyway, this is the video for August 21st, tomorrow. And it will go up in a little over an hour. I will let it go public. So this video will almost be very, very current, unlike the way that I've been doing most of my videos lately. The title is, Has the World Been Traumatized by Religion? The Red Dragon told the ambassador on Monday that he thought I had been traumatized by religion. Perhaps there is truth to this. Certainly the Red Dragon had pushed several buttons in the 2+ hours we spent together on Sunday doing various ceremonies, as I shared with the ambassador in Monday's video. I was raised a fundamentalist, evangelical, charismatic Christian. Since then, I have opened up a great deal, and I no longer embrace some of the rigid beliefs of my childhood. I call that growing up. From my point of view, the whole world has been traumatized by religion. Unless we learn to love one another, our religions are meaningless. Until we learn the importance of truth and justice, we will continue to be traumatized by the violence that comes from ignorance. Whew. I'm opening up a can of worms here, and I realize that. And I'm going to do it anyway. Let me start by saying that someone posted a video on my Facebook page. Was it on my Facebook page? I think so. And I should have looked it up before I did it. But anyway, it was... oh, God. Anyway, it was a short video, less than 2 minutes, of an Iraqi news broadcast in which one of the Iraqi broadcasters, one of the newsmen, broke down and cried over what's happening in Iraq to Christians. Iraq was probably one of the most advanced nations in the Arab world before the United States started messing with it. They honored Christians and Jews and Muslims and all of the other factions. In fact, the newscaster said that Iraq is like a rose, and all of these various ethnic groups are actually petals on the flower of Iraq. And he cried openly about the plight of Christians, that ISIS, now bear in mind what ISIS is. ISIS is a Zionist construct. Hamas is a Zionist construct. All of the wars that we have experienced in the past 100 years have been Zionist constructs. What do I mean by that? I mean we have a politically oriented group of people who want to rule the world and want to create an iron fist and a combat boot on every human face They want to control all of the resources. And they do this through religion. There are false Jews, false Christians, false Muslims, and probably false Hindus or Buddhists, but I don't know that that's true. But I do know the three main so-called Western or Middle Eastern religions have been manipulated by the Zionists to create conflict. They've done this through religion and traumatized the entire world. The entire world. As I said in the blurb, I was raised as a fundamentalist. That means we followed the fundamentals of the Bible. We were orthodox in that respect, following the teachings of the Bible. That's what a fundamentalist is. They base their concepts and their doctrines on a book. That's what a fundamentalist does. Evangelical means we went out and spread the good news of the gospel, which gospel means good news, of Jesus Christ to the world. The intent was to make the whole world a Christian world. And we were charismatic, Pentecostal. We spoke in tongues. We believed in laying on of hands. We believed in healing the sick. We believed in casting out demons. We believed in a whole bunch of things that many Orthodox churches don't openly teach. In Pentecostalism, they were openly taught. I grew up that way. So what the Red Dragon was presenting to me was not something foreign. It was something familiar. It was my upbringing. But look at my upbringing. Look what happened to me when, after a couple of years of living with an unfaithful wife and wanting to forgive her for her unfaithfulness, for her adulterous behavior, I reached a point where I couldn't do it anymore. And what happened when that happened is my sister, who prior to that had actually paid tithes to me at one point. Now, if you don't know what a tithe is, it's giving back to God 10% of your income. And she considered me doing the work of God and paid tithes to me to continue that work. Okay, bear that in mind. But then I got a divorce. Then I went to my family and I said, I've had enough. I can't take this anymore. And I separated from my wife and ultimately got a divorce. From that moment in 1982, my sister has only talked to me once. And she made a mistake, she told me later, in talking to me at all. She should have never done that because I had not properly repented. I'm not going to go into the whole story. I've told it at other times and in other ways. But let it suffice to say that none of my sisters talk to me now. And I had my entire family turned against me because that sister, my ex-wife went to that sister and others in my family and told her that I forced her into adultery. That it was my idea, which is when my brother told me that just only a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I almost fell through the floor. What? She said, I made her do it? Give me a break. Now, bear in mind this also. She confessed her first adulterous affair to me in church. And it was with my nephew by marriage, my sister's stepson, who was still a teenager when my wife was in her early 30s. Okay, that was the first adulterous affair. But my family blamed me for it because my wife said I made her do it. And since 1982, my family has been estranged from me because they consider me a non-Christian. Now, I want to tell you point blank, and I've said this in other videos, I love Jesus. I've never not loved Jesus. I grew up loving Jesus. Now, I don't care if you want to call him Yeshua or whatever you want to call him. I grew up knowing him as Jesus Christ. And I grew up loving Jesus Christ. I didn't love Christianity. Even as a teenager, I saw through some of the hypocrisy, some of the stuff that didn't make sense. Like, why don't you want black people to come to our church when we live in a neighborhood that is at least 50% black? Why? I mean, we send missionaries to Africa. Why don't you want black people in our church? I saw through the hypocrisy because to me, God loved everybody. And I grew up loving the underdog. I grew up rooting for the people that other people seem to take pleasure in putting down. The people that were not looked upon with high regard. And I formed my own Sunday school back in that year when that happened, in which I only had black children that would vie to sit on my knee. And Bo Diddley used to get it most of the time. He wanted to sit on Ron's knee because I loved those children. And I've been tired all of my life of the hypocrisy of Christians. Have I been traumatized by religion? You're damn right. I don't consider Christianity as it's practiced in most of the world to be a Christian religion. I don't believe they follow Jesus, certainly not the teachings of Jesus. And if they did, they wouldn't be anti-Muslim. They wouldn't be anti-Jewish. They wouldn't be anti-Catholic. Yes, we didn't consider Catholics to be Christians. We didn't consider Jehovah's Witnesses to be Christians. We didn't consider Mormons to be Christians. We only considered people that were Bible-believing evangelical charismatics to be Christians. We didn't even consider Baptists to be complete Christians because they avoided the baptism of the Holy Spirit or sanctification or some of the other things I was taught growing up. All of these rigid things, these circles that were drawn so that we were in the inner circle and people that believed differently than us were outside the circle. I've spent most of my adult life trying to convince people that unless our circle contains all of life and all it is, we aren't loving. That unless we are able to embrace those that are different than us, we don't even understand what it was meant to love your neighbor as yourself. Who is your neighbor? Whoever you meet, whoever you come in contact with, has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with politics, it has nothing to do with race, it has nothing to do with sexual orientation, it has nothing to do with nationality, it has nothing to do with language, it has nothing to do even with whether we're human or extraterrestrial. Your neighbor is whoever you encounter. Oh, what a concept. What a foreign concept to most of the world. Have I been traumatized by a religion that divides and separates and condemns people because they don't believe the same as me, the same as my group? Yeah, I've been traumatized. I don't give a damn about such religions because they do not follow the essential reality, the essential spirituality, the essential truth of loving, the essential truth of being compassionate and understanding, or at least trying to understand, being willing to be willing to love someone that thinks differently, than has someone that has different filters and different training than we had. The world has been traumatized by religions of separation. Eastern religions do the same thing. They separate us by telling us that it's all an illusion. It doesn't really mean anything because the physical stuff is just an illusion. And modern science has shown us that it's just an illusion. It's a hologram. It's not real. Bullshit, it's not real. It's our experience. It's our human experience. And I have spent my life loving or wanting to love my human experience, even with the trauma that I've experienced. Trauma that I've experienced at the hands of my family. Trauma that I've experienced at the hands of others that were raised like me. That I was blacklisted by people and called a sinner or some other derogatory term, or a backslider. Somebody that loved Muslims. What? And loved black people? And loved homosexuals? I mean, Ron, what kind of a guy are you? How can you love these kind of people? Because Jesus did. And my Christianity isn't based on what I learned in church. It's based on what I believe Jesus came to exemplify. What Jesus came to show us and to teach us by example. To love your enemies. But they're not enemies. See, even that is a misconception. Love your neighbor is the more correct term. Because they're not enemies. They're other beings just like you and just like me. Just like us. And I've tried my best to love. Even those that are hard to love. Even the Illuminati. Have we been traumatized by religion? You're damn right we have. We've been traumatized by our politics. We've been traumatized by our economic system. We've been traumatized by everything in our world. The Matrix is a traumatization zone. And we've all been traumatized. And I want to heal. I want to love. I want to show compassion. I want to let my light shine into the darkness. I want to let truth reign in my heart. Yeah, I've been traumatized, Red Dragon. I admit it. I've been traumatized by police, too. By people acting on behalf of government that have been poorly trained to commit violence against me and against so many others. Yes, I can't escape the trauma of living in a world that is insane. I can't escape the trauma of living in a world where lies are more important than truth. I can't escape the trauma of living in a world where religions have been co-opted by evil forces to divide and to conquer. I'm sorry, Red Dragon. I'm sorry, everyone. If you think that my religion is bad, because my religion is love. And love doesn't traumatize. Love is not afraid to tell the truth. Love is not afraid to be real and authentic and genuine. And that's what I try to be. That's what I strive for. Thank you for listening. Namaste.